All right, Jabosai, good morning. Let us begin. So we are starting this morning a new os in Tzidkas Atzadik, os Nun Chas. I sent it out yesterday on the WhatsApp chat, a truly beautiful piece we have ahead of us today. So let's begin. It's on page Kuf Mem, os Nun Chas. So the Rebbe writes as follows. Let's follow along in the Be'uriah Chasidus right-hand column. Me'achar, shetov la'adam, lehismarmer uletztarer becholibo al chata'av. So the Rebbe wrote, I skipped over, well, I'm sorry, we didn't skip over. So after a person, yeah, good. Me'achar shetov la'adam, lehismarmer uletztarer becholibo al chata'av. After it's important for a person, we've established, well, remember again, in Nun Zayin, we spoke about the concept of Gehenna. And we spoke about the idea that Gehenna, although we often understand Gehenna as referring to a place where we go after 120, but in fact, again, Gehenna could be experienced in Olam Hazeh when one has to live with the fallout, the turmoil, the agmas nefesh, the difficulty of recognizing the mistakes I've made in life. So after we've spoken about this concept, also we spoke about this idea that this Gehenna in Olam Hazeh actually has a profound cathartic impact as well. Alav ladas, well, so this is a very profound idea. Ki la'achar sheshav b'tshuva. After a person does tshuva for a particular avera, kol michshol b'chet sheshav alav b'tshuva, hu siman v'hochacha she'eno naki lechalutin mechet zeh. So I'll say, the Rabbi here says something very interesting, which we're going to have to kind of ponder a little bit. So listen to these words. He says, after a person stumbles and commits a particular avera, that's demonstrative that he is not fully cleansed of that avera. Well, one more time. After a person stumbles in a particular area, that's demonstrative. He says, Simin v'hochacha she'eno naki lechalutin mechet zeh. That's demonstrative that I'm not naki, I'm not cleansed, in other words, that I still struggle with this particular chait. Okay, so as I said, first glance, the statement seems a little bit obvious. Of course, if I go ahead and I make a mistake in a particular area, of course that's demonstrative that I'm still struggling in that area. You'll see what he means in just a moment. Shahare, bidvar avera, bidavar va'avera, sha'adam naki mimenu legamre. Because also when it comes to a certain area or a particular avera, that a person is totally naki, that a person is totally cleansed from, ve'ein lo shum negia, mishicha nafshis, v'shum taiva la'avera hi. Because this is actually a very beautiful idea. Because if there's a particular avera with which I have no struggle, if there's a particular avera from which I am totally clean and pure, he says, "V'shum taiva la'averahi." I'm sorry, "V'shum taiva la'avera," and I have no desire for this particular avera. Hari nikra v'nechshav adam zeba shamayim letzadik le'inyan osa davar va'osa avera. So this is such a beautiful idea. You'll see how the Rebbe develops this. If there's a particular avera that I don't stumble in, a particular avera that I don't transgress, and a particular avera for which I have no desire, I am called a tzaddik in that area. So these are the two parts, says Reb Tzaddik, of life, of my personal life. They're the areas that I transgress, and by definition, any area that I transgress, and any area in which I make mistakes, I'm not a tzaddik in that area. Now, the chiddush of Reb Tzaddik is as follows. The chiddush is that even when I go ahead and I do tshuva, so let's say I commit an avera, and I do tshuva for that avera. What's my status now? What's my status? So what's my status? Right? So this is interesting. I'm not a tzaddik, says Reb Tzaddik. What I am is a Baal Tshuva. I'm a Baal Tshuva. I'm not a tzaddik, because Reb Tzaddik says the definition of being a tzaddik is in an area which I don't mess up, which I don't stumble in, and which I don't have desires for. In that area, I'm called the tzaddik. In other areas where I mess up, either again, if I haven't done tshuva, I'm an avarion, a person who commits averos, or if I've done tshuva, I am a Baal Tshuva. But the Rebbe says, not a tzaddik. Not a tzaddik. That term tzaddik is reserved for areas in life in which I go ahead and I have no desire, no pull, no inclination, and I have not transgressed those particular averas. Rebbe says, he goes on. You're going to see why this is a very exciting definition. He goes on, he says, I already said good. Ve'inyan zeh, li choshev tzadik l'tzadik rak l'davar echad bilvad, gam im legabi sharnyam. So just to understand something. So what's the beautiful result of Reb Tzaddik's understanding? What's the beautiful reality that he creates for us? Think about this. We're all tzaddikim in many, many, many areas. In fact, I think one can make the argument that we are tzaddikim in many more areas in which we are chas v'shalom. I don't want to say Rishayim because that's much too strong, but in which maybe we transgress. So think about this for just a second. The Torah says, "Lo sita lecha ashera." Don't plant an ashera tree to worship it. Good news. Good news. Never did it. Have no desire for it. Fantastic. I'm a tzaddik in the inyan of Asherah. Right? And I will say the truth is, the amazing part is you can go through a whole list of this. Right? Think about this for another moment. Even in the areas of immorality or morality, where there are so many taivas, there are certain forbidden relationships which normal people don't have desires for. So which means even within the same area, even within the same prohibitions, I could be a tzaddik in certain areas. So the tzaddik says, what this means is, in any given moment in life, listen to how profound this is, in any given moment in life, I am simultaneously a tzaddik, and I may also be a rasha. It's simultaneously a tzaddik and a rasha. And Reb Tzaddik says, this idea, the inyan zeh, lihi choshev, l'tzadik rak ledavar echad bilvad, gam im legabi sharin yom nechshav kirasha, and this idea that in one area I can be treated as a tzaddik, right? Even though in many other areas I am like a rasha. Hu k'derech shekasav harashba b'chidushav b'nida. Quotes over here, we'll say in a very interesting Gemara Maseches Nida. Quotes over here. And we'll say, actually, we're gonna stop over here for today. We'll stop with this because I want to be able to start the daf on time. Meretz Hashem. But just point out, the Rebbe is introducing us to this dramatic new idea that a person could simultaneously be a tzaddik and a rasha in the same time. But these are new definitions. A tzaddik, Rebbe will say, which if you think about it, is a very absolute term. So the tzaddik refers to, what tzaddik is also able to say is, tzaddik is not as much my definition of my entire persona as much as it defines my relationship to certain averos. So to certain averos, I'm a tzaddik. To certain averos, I'm a rasha. Certain averos, I'm a tzaddik. No taiba for it, no desire for it, no shaykhs to it. I don't do it. I don't struggle with it. I don't stumble in it. I don't desire it. I'm a tzaddik in those areas. Other areas I transgress. Active state of transgression, I may chas v'shalom be a rasha. But again, if I do tshuva, then I'm a Baal tshuva. But also, what's also interesting about this is that this will have to stop. According to this approach of the Rebbe, Dina will say that a person after chait is almost like a person in recovery. You ever speak to a person who's in recovery? It's an amazing thing. The klal gadol of a person in recovery is, he's never what? If you see the people in recovery, people don't usually say, I'm recovered. Instead, they say, I'm 365 months, whatever. I'm sober this amount of time. It's an incredible yesod, and it's so profound. Because what recovery from addiction really highlights is this idea is, this is my reality. This is something I will contend with the rest of my life. It's my reality. My goal is just to go ahead and stretch the sobriety for as long as I can. Reb Tzaddik says it's the same thing in chait. It's the same exact thing in chait. I'm in recovery. Why? Because my struggles are my struggles. That's it. The areas in which I struggle, we'll say, if you think about this in life, it's not usually the pshat that I struggle in one area and then that struggle goes totally away. And panim chadoshos, bo'olakan, right? New struggle, nothing to do with the old struggle. That's not usually what happens. If we're honest with ourselves, the things we struggle with internally very often are the very things we've been struggling with since our youth. It's all the same stuff. It's all the same. It manifests itself differently throughout life, but it's all the same thing. So therefore, says Reb Tzaddik, in your areas of struggle, you never really become a tzaddik, because tzaddik means I have no shaykhus to this particular chait. I become Baal Tshuva, and that's okay. We'll say that's incredible. That's all. I don't have to become a tzaddik in the areas of my struggle. All I have to do is go ahead and string along, or string together, a prolonged amount of sobriety. That's my goal. All right, so we'll stop over here for today. This I'm going to tell you is this piece is life-altering, just in the way we look at ourselves, we look at our struggles, and we look at our areas of weaknesses and strength. Meretz Hashem to be continued tomorrow. Shkach, we'll say.